Welcome to Business Unfiltered. Today, I'm here with Kyle Churman from Werner Books. I'm Bill Dietz with the Gana Small Business Development Center, and I'd like to welcome Kyle. Give you a little background on Werner Books. From what I know, I believe Gail Werner started the business in 2010.
That sounds about right, yep.
And then in 2022, she decided that she wanted to retire.
I think she decided she wanted to retire before that, but yes, ultimately 2022 is when we finally signed all the correct pieces of paper to make it happen.
So you and your wife Lauren, and then when you purchased the business in 2022, less than 18 months, you decided to expand.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yes, I know. I was on the ride. Tell me why. Number one, two-part question. Why did you decide to acquire Werner Books and Coffee, by the way? And why the expansion so soon? I'm real curious.
Yeah, it was kind of twofold. We bought the business. My wife and I had always thought, we'd like to do something very community-oriented, right? And owning a business that is community-oriented is kind of an easy way to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so when this went back years prior, when we were still living in Erie the first time, because we lived in Erie, moved to Edinburgh, moved back to Erie during COVID. And when we found out that Werner Books was for sale, we thought, oh, perfect. I have a background in history. I'm a book lover. My wife is a college English professor, book lover,
Right.
And so it made sense. And then the nice thing was the price was right, so, Gail made a really nice, had a successful business, and a really, the opportunity was kind of perfect. And we have some other friends that had bought businesses prior to, one of them, Emily Ernest, who owns Glassgrowers Gallery, and had done the same thing about a year before. So we said, Emily did it. She kind of gave us, hey, here's things to do, here's things not to do, here's questions to ask. And we thought, why not? So then we buy the store. We have a great first year. And we get from March 22 to January of 23, and we look at the success we had in the first year, and a lot of it was growth in marketing, growth in community events, and also what we wanted to do, right? I think that's a lot of it, is we wanted to do more. And so we approached our landlord and kind of said, hey, can we expand? And they made us a really great opportunity to expand, not next to where we were, but further down in the Liberty Plaza where we are today.
Right.
And we thought, we can't just expand and have books, right? You can't just say, oh, if you're going to expand, you have to do something else, right? You have to have an add-on. And that's where the coffee came in. And so we thought, Erie has some great coffee shops. There are none really in our part of town, kind of midtown,
right,
kind of center city, that we thought, oh, this is a good spot, for a community-based, kind of coffee shop. And we looked at some of the other ones in town and we said, what are they doing well? Oh, they're places where people can meet, they can gather, they can sit. And so we thought, hey, let's do this thing. And here we are now, a year plus later, from the expansion, September 23, and things are going really well.
Yeah.
So we're happy.
That's great. Yeah, it truly is a community-driven gathering place for, it really is. Yeah. I mean, I've stopped in there and I've seen the cafe full. I've seen you have a lot of book clubs.
Yeah.
You do a lot of author signings. So yeah, I know you've had a lot of success. But I'm curious to know, what challenges were you facing as you went through this process?
The first one was financial.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, and this was sort of why the expansion was possible, was the first year we had such success that we were able to pay our initial loan down, right, to zero. So we hit that, we got a loan paid off that we used to buy the store, and said, you know what, now's a good time as any to take another loan out, right? And a lot of people were kind of hesitant about taking on debt, but for us, it made sense, because we said, well, we don't have previous debt, right? Now we'll take on new debt. And that worked out great though, because we were able to get, money. But the other part of it was, construction costs and negotiating, right? That's one thing that we really, our landlord, at first was like, we don't want to pay for X, but we'll pay for Y. And we were able to go, okay, we can kind of make it happen. And we did. So that was a big part of it. I mean, the other thing, it's scary. I think a lot of people in business get afraid of, the unknown,
Sure.
and that's the scariest thing, right? And luckily, I think for Lauren and I, we're not business people, right? We don't have that background. So for us, we don't know what we don't know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So we kind of just go in with like, we trust you, Bill, and we trust other people that we've talked to that are in this world, but we also trust our gut. And, we had to put together a staff pretty quickly. And luckily, we were able to find a cafe manager that same thing did not come from a cafe background, a business background, anything like that. Stephanie, she was a school psychologist for a decade. So that was another thing where we were kind of taking a risk and saying, okay, here's someone that, she worked in a cafe and she managed a cafe when she was in college,
Yep.
but she's been a professional in a totally different field for a decade.
Yeah.
And the team, the kind of the core team of Werner Books, it's not just Lauren and Stephanie, it's our whole group. A lot of us are just book lovers. And that makes it happen. But it definitely can be scary when you look at, here's how much money we're going to spend to make this happen. Can you make that back in a couple years, So far, we're okay.
So far, so good.
I look at the bank account every day, and I don't have a panic attack, so I guess that's good, right?
That's awesome. You mentioned me as part of the SBDC being a resource. What other resources did you rely on as you went through this project?
There were a handful. I think I have a great banker up at KeyBank, John. He is. And it's really interesting because when we initially bought the store, you, Bill, were not our SBDC rep, right?
Yep.
And John was not my banker at KeyBank. We had a different guy, right? Who was great, right? So we had these two people that kind of got us to the initial part. But then when we want to do the growth part, we had all new people, but they saw that we were passionate about the project, said, oh yeah, this seems to make sense, you gotta get us all the paperwork, right? And then, John was a big help. You were a big help. My contractor, I cannot, he still is, we're pretty close. My contractor, Rob Shearer, he's the contractor for like the Liberty Plaza. If you want, right? I would say he's not mandated by our landlord, but he's, Sherry Bauer, who a lot of people know in town, right? She's kind of the queen of Erie commercial real estate, right?
Sure. Yep.
Sherry said, listen, Rob's my guy. And if you want something done, he'll be your guy. And I said, you know what? I trust you. Let's do it. And one of the first pieces of advice, for anyone that's been in the store, you'll notice we have some seating in the front, books, and then the cafe and some more seating in the back. And initially we wanted everything in the front, all the seating, all the, whatever, and all the coffee shop stuff. And Rob said to me, no, we're not doing that. And I said, what do you mean? It's my store, And he said that, you have a basement, which we do. We have a basement. And he said that, but it only runs about halfway from the back to the front of the store, so halfway down. And he said, if you want to put everything up there, you're going to have to tear up all this concrete. You're going to have to run pipes. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And I went, oh, never would have thought of that. I just kind of wanted what I want. So he said, why don't we put the cafe in the back? And I went, okay. Still put seating in the front, cafe in the back. And, as they're doing the plumbing, we're just putting one hole in the floor and running all the pipes. I'm like, oh. He said, yeah, I can do that myself. I don't need to call a guy. I don't have to have a concrete guy. And so it's one of those relying on expertise, right, that I do not have, right? I'm not a contractor. I can barely hang up a picture on my wall. I'm pretty handy, but I'm not, that's not my background. Relying on people like that was huge. And then, the other thing is we have a great network, Lauren and I, and a lot of them are friends of ours that also own small businesses here in Erie. And, Emily, I mentioned, Emily and I have been best friends since 2014, way before we owned businesses, right? And so for her to kind of, rely on her and say, hey, what went well for you, what's working, hook me up with this person, whatever. The other one that I'd totally be remiss if I didn't mention is Jeff McCullough, who owns Erie Aleworks. And Jeff's whole thing is always getting out of your space, right? Going and selling, for him it's beer, for me it's books at farmers markets, at events around town, whatever. So a lot of that, as we expanded, we wanted to do more of that. And so we were like,
Right.
where are you going? Can we tag along? Can we, partner up? And that has been a huge, huge help. So there's a lot of people that go into this, and it's not just, the people on the outside, but then my internal staff as well. We had to hire baristas, we had to hire staff, and a lot of them, same thing, were baristas, have experience, but that's not their main business. Same thing with the bookstore side.
Right.
It's just kind of people we've collected, and they're fantastic.
Well, I'm going to take that a step further because I've witnessed it almost on a daily basis, is the collaboration between the small businesses in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I know a bunch of them that you've collaborated with, and it's really good to see. So tell me, now that we're into this now, almost a little more than a year, or just
September.
Yeah, September. Have you had an aha moment that this was really a great thing to do?
There were a couple. I think the biggest one, and some of it is success in the objective sense, right?
Right.
And I think on that, it's the Erie Reader this year. Last year we won Best Local Bookstore, which was tremendous because Werner Books had never won that, right? And a lot of it was the other bookstores are also really good, right, in town. So to win that last year, and a lot of it had to do with the expansion, right? People have been coming to gather and to spend time. That was really nice. But this year, we also won Best Local Bookstore, which was great. But then we also won Best Local Business.
Yeah.
Which there are only two businesses that ever won that in the Erie Reader in the past decade. And both of them, if you know, are places that when you come to visit Erie or places, they're first name basis, right? They're places that people go, wow. So that was really one of those things where Laura and I were like, this is cool. People know us.
It's quite the milestone.
It's a huge milestone. So that was kind of one. But I think the other one, and we talked about this as a staff the other day because we were all doing inventory, we're getting together. And I think one of the things is we've actually had a negative turnover in a weird way. And so what I mean by that is we had one of our employees, Emma, she went to graduate school. So I don't really count her as turnover because she was going to do something else in Pittsburgh away from here, right? She would have stayed had she been here. But we had Caitlin, who, if you follow Werner Books on social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you will know Caitlin because she does all of our social media for us. Caitlin left and was still working for us kind of part-time, but not really because she had another job that she left. And a couple months into that job, she said, I'm not really happy. Can I come back? And we said, can we make it work to bring Caitlin back? And of course, the answer was yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a really aha moment that we've not really lost any staff in over a year. And there are places that turn over staff like crazy in our industry, right? In retail and like the cafe world, right? And everyone's happy, it seems. I mean, they tell me all the time they're happy, so that's good.
That's awesome.
And that was a small one, but that was kind of one of those cool as we thought about it. We're like, people like what we're doing here. And then, the other small piece is when I see people, and it's every day. It's every day I see this. When I see people just getting together and getting a cup of coffee, or today, or we had a book club today, and there were 20-some people there. Normally that book club has a dozen. And there were new people. Well, where are they coming from, right? They're finding us, and they're finding community, right? And I think COVID didn't help, right? With a lot, kind of wiped out a lot of that. So people are coming back to spending time with other people and doing it in our space, which we love. And so it's those small things, right? It's people just, two people that haven't seen each other in a decade, two old friends, which I've heard plenty of times. Hey, we're getting together, we're getting coffee at your place. Of all the places here, you pick mine. Okay, that's kind of cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, actually, we have a neighbor across the street from us that started up a book club, and their intent is to meet at Werner Books and Coffee once a month.
I love it.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We have a big list of the ones that we run and the ones other people just get together and run as well. I mean, we have to have a calendar just for book clubs at this point.
And you're doing a lot of things with schools as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we do, and this goes back to Gail. So a lot of one of the things I give Gail a lot of credit for is she set us up to succeed, even if people maybe don't see it, right? And school book fairs is one of them, right? So we do, people know Scholastic; they're a big name. They do all the school book fairs all over the country, right? Well, we do school book fairs. We do about 15 a year at a lot. It's a lot of work, right? And we do them in the Erie City Schools, the Erie Public Schools. We have a handful. Girard, Wattsburg, Luther Memorial Academy. So big schools, small schools, parochial schools, public schools. We kind of pick that, and that's really a lot of fun because I try to make them really affordable for the students and the kids, and for the parents too, because books are expensive. So we bring some of our used book supply there, right, and they're really affordable. And we bring new stuff and some other stuff that's less expensive than you would get from Scholastic to try to, make it, a worthwhile investment. Hey, we're going to come in, we're going to get a lot of books for not as much money, and so the kids really have a lot of stuff to read. So we've been doing that forever. We now have we have a storage room actually that is strictly for book fairs. It's kind of impressive to see. One of my employees, Joey, and she's my book fair buddy, as I like to call her, because we do a lot of the book fairs together.
Right.
And she keeps that thing organized. This book fair room, you should see it. Everything is by genre and by, graphic novels all together. Everything's really organized. So that's really cool. But then, so the school book fairs are big, but we do, we've done a lot of work with like Grover Cleveland because it's right next to us, right? It's literally our community school. We work with the new community school director, Charnay. She's fantastic. She's great. We've also started to expand our scope out of just the school stuff, because we do a lot of that. We've, for the past 2 summers at the Frontier Open Markets, right, the farmers markets at Frontier, we did, on top of selling books there, we would also do a kids craft and story time that we hosted. Well, this year, and I'm so excited for this partnership, we were able to kind of partner up with the Children's Museum. And they approached us and said, hey.
Ainsley.
Yeah, and with Courtney Barrett was the one. Yeah, Courtney said, hey, can we come and set up shop and can we do like a craft or an activity? And I went, oh, I don't have to. I don't do the crafts. My wife does. But, it's like we don't have to do it, but putting the Children's Museum name on this thing is tremendous.
Bingo.
And Aaron at Leaf was like, yeah, I'd love to have the Children's Museum here. So they're going to be taking that over next year. From us, and we're still going to sponsor it, which is going to be really nice. But it's things like that, and I think that's where we talk about growth, right?
Right.
It's that kind of growth too, right? It's we've done it. We set the baseline. This went really well. Now we can pass it off to someone who's even more, has even more resources.
Another perfect example of collaboration amongst
it's the best.
Our local small businesses. Yeah. So tell me, what kind of advice would you have for somebody thinking about starting up a business similar to yours?
Don't open another bookstore. I think that it's funny. I've been asked this before, and it cracks me up because the first piece of advice I've given people is just buy a really successful business and don't mess it up, right? Which is what I did. I think you have to have trustworthy people. Right, so if you're going to open a bookstore or any small business, not a bookstore, any small business, you have to have trustworthy people around you. I have, like I said, my wife's my business partner in this. I run things kind of day to day, but without her, it doesn't happen, right? For a lot of reasons. She's, has another job financially, personally we're doing okay, which is important, right?
Sure.
So I'm able to focus more on the business side of things, which is good. Have good people around you. My staff is amazing. I have a great staff of people that I trust implicitly, right? That I can leave in the middle of the day and come do a podcast with Bill Dietz at Gannon, and I know that the store's great. Yeah. I know that I can go away if I need to, and so have trustworthy people around you, people that you know, and it doesn't have to be that they're experts in a specific thing, right? Um, you know, we hire a lot of the people. You know, when we've hired people we just kind of like spending time with that we know are going to do the job. Anna, who's our main barista, right? I mean, we have a lot of baristas, but Anna's kind of our. If you come during the week, 10 to 6, Anna is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
She works that day shift for us, and Anna did not know how to make a latte. She had no experience whatsoever in terms of being a barista when we hired her. She worked in a factory. But Stephanie, who we trust, our cafe manager, said, I have this friend. I think she'd be great. I can train her. Great. And Anna is like our kind of ride or die, kind of like our main person. And I think that's it. And then the other one is, as a business owner, you have to, absolutely have to. You're not above any of the work, right? I think some people think that, you're a business owner, it's glamorous, right? You're on a podcast, right? You're doing the thing, you're on the news, right? Which I do. I've been doing inventory for the past 3 days. My knees are totally shot. My back is killing me. I'm so glad I'm sitting in a comfortable chair. But, I'm also the one that cleans the toilets.
Right.
And I'm not joking. Literally, my staff doesn't like cleaning the toilet, so I do it. And I'm not above that. They will if they have to. But I'm not above that kind of work because it's all important to the whole operation of the store. And, you have to, I learned early on from a couple of really great bosses I had that, you have to be the one, if you want things to go really well, to be there every day. And I'm getting better about that. I'm trying not to be there every day, but you have to be there at least, kind of, if needed, every day, right? So I need to take days off. I need to get better about that. I know that. But also, in the sense that, if you go and you do the stuff that needs to get done, you can really make it happen, and you have to do the work, and it's hard.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing here is surround yourself with good people, and don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
Yeah. No. Wear gloves if you're cleaning the toilets, but it's don't be afraid to get your hands dirty because that's what matters, and I think that's what has made us successful is that people know, me. They see me. Yeah, I'm on the news sometimes and I have a segment and it's cool and all that. But then they see me in the store, shelving books, checking you out,
I've seen
cleaning
you
the toilet, that's what I'm doing. And I think that's the key is people were like, wow, that's a guy that really, cares about his business,
If you had any advice for entrepreneurs out there, what mistakes can they avoid early on?
Gosh. I think early on, one of the pitfalls that is out there potentially is growing too much. I know we grew in 18 months. I'm fully aware of the speed that we grew. But we also, we get a lot of, suggestions from people, right? Customers and otherwise for things. And if you take every single person's advice, you're never going to make it because you have to kind of trust your own gut. Now we do. I mean, my customers say, hey, do this. That sounds fun. We can make that work. That's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can't, outgrow when you have to do the things that you do well, really well. Right? A simple one, we'd sell our own baked goods at the store, right? And at the coffee shop. And Stephanie and my wife Lauren, they approached me. They might as well have had a PowerPoint. It was so funny. They said, hey, we want to get an oven. And they were, it's like Shark Tank. Like, hey, okay, Kyle, we need to pitch you on this. And they wrapped up and I went, all you had to say was like, hey, we want to get an oven. Here's how much it costs. And here's the credit card. They each have credit cards anyway. And so, but now Stephanie makes scones and she has become like, I always call her the mayor of Scone City because customers come in and go, Steph, where are the scones? Hey, we need scones. Hey, they're all gone. What do you mean they're all gone? But that was one of those things where it was that was a pretty easy investment for us to make. It didn't cost us very much money. I also didn't know Steph was an incredible baker when I met her, 2 years ago. And that was just luck. But, that's one. I think the other one, kind of a pitfall is you have to be willing to say no at times as well, right? So it's like, yes, say yes when it makes sense, but say no, because one of the things that we all, and me and my other friends that own businesses, we always laugh about this, is the people that come in, and especially the ones that want donations, right, for events, right? And hey, there's a lot of great, worthy groups out there doing cool things, and we work with a lot of them, right? But then there's other people that come in the store, you've never seen them once in your life, and they say, hey, donate to my thing. It's donate to the bowling thing out at the place that you've never been. And one of the ways I can always do it is I'll look up in my computer, I'll be like, well, you're not a customer. And it's not that I don't want to support your event, but you need to support me too, right? So I think a lot of the time, people just say yes to everything because they feel like they need to. And you have to be willing to draw the line somewhere and say, hey, there it goes both ways, unfortunately, right? Of you support me, I'll support you.
Right.
And the places we support very heavily, right, are the places that I know, the owner, or I know the executive director of that nonprofit, or I know people that go to that church or whatever it is. I know those people, and I know I can pick them out of a crowd, and I can say, hey, you come see me, you support me, and not just financially, but also with your just goodwill, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
I think that's a big one that you can run into as a business owner.
One more quick question. What's next for Werner Books and Coffee?
What's next? I actually, someone asked me that this morning too. What's next year look like? I think that the word I've been using for 2025 is consistency, right? And that's really like the big thing. So we hired a new barista to kind of help us with some of our evening shifts, things like that. But that was more for consistency purposes, right? We wanted to get everyone a little more balanced,
Mm-hmm.
both in their personal lives and as the business, my staff, right? So I wanted
Right.
them to have, the ability to, have more consistency because we were kind of crazy this year with scheduling at times. And so that's a big one. I think, I didn't even mention the book bus, but I have a mini bus I bought because why not? When we did the expansion, it was all within the same time frame. We had opened the new store, and then someone said, hey, there's a bus for sale, you should buy it, and I did. And the seats were already ripped out, floor was in, so we put bookshelves in there. So I take that around. I really want to get that more prominently going this year, for a store, for events, community events, things like that. I really want to get that. That's kind of probably my big goal is the book bus.
Okay.
'Cause it's super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, consistency and we're not going to expand again anytime soon. Someone asked me that too. Are you going to expand? No.
How about the outdoor space, though?
Yeah, that's
I wanted
true.
to ask you about that.
Yeah, so we have this great outdoor space that my landlord luckily lets me use. When we design space, we put a side door on. They being my landlord, want to put a mural up in this space, which I think is going to look really cool. A lot of people ask if I would put the mural up. I will not. I don't own the building, so we'll make it their responsibility,
Yes.
right? And so that's coming. We want to do more events out there, right? I think that's the really nice thing is that we have seating out there already. We might get some more seating out there,
Mhm.
if I'm able to. But we want to do more events out there, and same thing, have them be consistent, right? So we did a couple, like 2 events last year in the summer. We called Pup Nights, had the Humane Society once. We had another pet rescue come one day, and that was really cool. And then we kind of fizzled out because we got busy with some other stuff. So I really want to see more consistency with stuff like that this
Awesome.
year and other things, right? So that's really the big thing for 2025.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be good.
Awesome. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm here with Kyle Churman from Werner Books and Coffee, 3608 Liberty in the Liberty Plaza. Phone number is 814-864-1565, or go visit them at wernerbooks.com. And as you mentioned, you are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and there's a couple really cool TikTok videos
I know,
out there.
Kayla has a lot of fun
Yeah,
with
she
them.
does a good job with it. Well, again, thank you very much. I just want to take a couple minutes here to let everybody know about some things that are coming up with the SBDC. We are having a financial forum on February 11th. We are doing a BizLink networking event on February 12th. I'll be doing a first step seminar for startups on February the 13th. And on February the 20th, we will be having a seminar on OSHA regulations. You can get all the particulars on all of those events at our website, which is spdcgannon.org. And I also want to let you know that on February the 24th, we will be doing our second episode, and that will be with our Mercer consultant, Mike Blayrock, who will be discussing daycare in Pennsylvania. And that should be interesting because I have a few daycare clients that it can be challenging. So I'd like to thank you for tuning in and checking us out. And again, thank Kyle. It was enjoyable. I had fun with this. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right.